underwater car, remote control car, invisible car. Surely the next step was gonna be a flying car. Just give James Bond a bloody DeLorean. Hey guys, it's Jim and welcome back to my channel, a place for movie geeks to unite and geek out over movies. We talk about James Bond a lot on this channel, and in this video it's time to talk about the top 10 James Bond gadgets, because yes, he's got the coolest gadgets in all of film. Some are insane, some are over the top, some were clever, some were smart, some were interesting. Let's talk about my top 10. What are your top 10 James Bond gadgets, and what do you think of my list? Number 10 is the exploding pen from GoldenEye. So you basically hit the end of the pen a number of times and it will explode after a few moments. Now, this sounds very basic, but it actually gives GoldenEye a sense of tension and sense of interest. James Bond won't stab you with a pen, he'll blow you up with a pen.
Pay attention, Bond. Simply remove the top of this pen, jab it in somebody's eye and smash it in with your hand like that.
That's not a gadget. That's just monstrous use of a biro.
When it falls into the hands of Boris, the programmer, whilst Bond is captured and he's clicking it, it's quite a tense scene because obviously Bond knows that it's going to blow up at any time. And I love that. I love when Bond knows that the gadget is about to explode or is about to activate and the villain doesn't know. It gives the film such a tension and gives yourself kind of an understanding with James Bond as the viewer, that you know what he knows and you know what the villain doesn't know. Number 9 is the wolf whistle keyring from The Living Daylights. Again, another simple gadget, but again, another very memorable one for me. So basically this keyring produces stun gas when Rule Britannia is whistled, and a wolf whistle also activates an explosion. Again, it's another gadget that's activated by James Bond that only us as the viewer know the little intricacies that set it off. Only us and Bond know. So if he whistles, something is going to happen. The villain doesn't know, but he's about to die. Timothy Dalton had just come into the role and he's the more serious and rugged James Bond for the time, so it was more of a basic gadget and less gimmicky, but it still had a sense of that James Bond fun to it. I like the end bit where he defeats the villain using the wolf whistle and causes something to explode and fall on the villain. I like it. Again, these simple gadgets create a lot of tension. You know, it doesn't have to be these massive, crazy gadgets. The small, little pocket ones are sometimes just as fun as the big ones. Number 8 is the lasers from Moonraker. Just the lasers from Moonraker. They're not gadgets given to Bond, but they are a gadget because I had never seen anything like this as a kid. You know, I still watch Moonraker. You know, it's not my favourite film at all. I'm not a massive fan of it. I do like it, but that laser battle still sets off the child imagination in me. I was fascinated watching this growing up. You know, those blue laser shots, you know, going on in this space in the middle of space. You know, it was wide-eyed wonder for me. And obviously you can get the lasers in the GoldenEye video game, and they were my favourite weapons in the GoldenEye video game. I would always select lasers. Number 7 is the dart from Moonraker, which basically gets activated by Bond moving his wrist. I think it's a really cool weapon because obviously it's so easy to hide. You know, it's so small and so discreet, and all you have to do is just move your wrist and you've basically killed the bad guy. And when James Bond kills the bad guy in Moonraker, it's one of the most hilarious deaths in the whole series. So that's one of the reasons I remember the Moonraker dart. And I also wanted this as a kid so much. I just dreamt of going around and just quickly firing a dart, you know, wiping out my teacher. Only with a tranquilizer dart, don't worry. Well, some of them.
Heartbroken, Mr. Drax. Allow me. Take a giant step for mankind.
Where's Drax?
Oh, he had to fly.
Number 6 is the Aston Martin from Goldfinger. What an iconic gadget this is. And you may be thinking, well, it's a car, it's not a gadget. Well, it is, because James Bond's cars are bloody gadgets. They're basically just as crazy and creative as the gadgets he gets given. And the Aston Martin is one of the ultimate cars for me. One of the most sleek, stylish, beautiful looking cars ever. You know, smoke screen, machine guns, tracking system. You know, this really was a first. You were not seeing cars be this kind of intricately and creatively equipped in movies. And that's what gave James Bond one of those elements of the series that still stands out. The way that he was able to have what we always wanted to have these dream type of cars and gadgets that just blew our minds, you know, and took us to realms of fascination and imagination and escapism. Oh, and it's got that one little element that we will never forget.
See the gear lever here? Now, if you take the top off, you'll find a little red button. Whatever you do, don't touch it.
No, why not?
Because you'll release this section of the roof and engage and fire the passenger ejector seat. Whoosh.
Ejector seat? You're joking.
I never joke about my work, 007.
Number 5 is the jetpack from Thunderball. Need I say more? It's a bloody jetpack, guys. As a kid, I rewound this tape so much watching Thunderball, just re-watching the scene where James Bond escapes in a jetpack. And it's a very short scene, but again, you know, it just gives James Bond this kind of coolest guy on earth feel. You know, jetpacks are still not common these days, but in the 60s, Bond was bloody using them for a getaway. And he's wearing a helmet, safety first. At the time, only one of 2 people in the world could fly these jetpacks, and one of them did it for this scene. So it's just such a magical moment in film history, I think. Number 4, the only gadget to make it on the list twice, the Aston Martin is back in the living daylights. Why do I put it on the list twice? Because it's basically reinvented in the living daylights. It's basically a whole new car. It is the Aston Martin updated for the 80s. It's even cooler. It's even more sleek, stylish. It's a new model of the Aston Martin, and it's got even more gadgets to boot. There's a red laser on the bottom for, you know, lasering out the bottom of other cars. It drops spikes. It's got machine guns. It's got a rocket boost. It is pretty much the coolest version of the Aston Martin, and Living Daylights has such an amazing car chase in the snow. It goes on the ice, goes from the road to the ice, and it's high octane, it's brilliant. And it was really reinventing James Bond, because it was still using the gadgets, but you had this new badass James Bond in the role, and the Aston Martin in turn was more badass and more up to date.
What is this?
I've had a few optional extras installed.
Number 4 is the remote control car from Tomorrow Never Dies. If you ever need an example of James Bond basically being the ultimate man-child, it is in Tomorrow Never Dies. I always felt Pierce Brosnan's Bond had this kind of schoolboy cheekiness to him, and he got the kind of gadgets that were just like playful and like a child would basically invent. You wonder why Q is making all this shit for Bond. He's like, what can I do to make just Bond's life even more cooler? Remote control car, invisible car, underwater car. He's just like throwing ideas out there like, Q, this is going to cost us billions, mate. Yeah, I know, it's cool, isn't it? Basically, Bond has a remote control touchscreen, touchpad for his BMW. It also drops spikes, it repairs its own tyres when they go out, which is a hilarious moment where Bond just presses on the screen when his tyres have gone and the tyres reinflate, and he just looks so satisfied with himself. And halfway through he just jumps out of the car and the villains don't see him, so he's now literally controlling the car with the villains chasing it, and which is the ultimate thrill, because it's like he literally has got one up over on the villains and he's now going to lead them to their death. And it, you know, it's such an exciting and fast-paced action scene in Tomorrow Never Dies, and it is so funny where Bond basically leads the villains to their death, and the way he lands the car, it just brings forth Pierce Brosnan's schoolboy cheekiness and swagger. It's such a hilarious moment. And number 2 on the list is from You Only Live Twice, which is Little Nellie. Basically mini little auto gyro that James Bond gets equipped with. Yeah, it's not a helicopter, it's an auto gyro, guys, get it right. Now, I don't love You Only Live Twice, it's not one of my favourites, but this is one of the coolest and most fun scenes in the entire franchise. What I love about Little Nellie is that you hear the name of Little Nellie brought up and you don't know what it is. And then when it's being assembled, Sean Connery slowly introduces it to us. And I just really, that is ingrained in my memory, that little assembly scene. And again, it's, you know, it's man-child, isn't it? It's toys basically being used in the field, you know, and that's what it's all about, you know, that escapism. sense. You know, it's all for kids to just sit there and wish they had this, and I wished I had Little Nellie. I still wish I had Little Nellie. And it was once again this series taking something regular, like a regular vehicle, but making it must have, making it incredibly cool. Flamethrowers, aerial mines, machine guns, that whole action sequence of Bond flying Little Nellie is one of the most iconic in the entire series. It's wonderfully done and it's wonderfully imaginative. And it was one of the times where you could tell Sean Connery was having an absolute ball. You know, it was his last film in the role. You could tell he was on his way out, but this scene, he looked like a kid in a sweet shop. It was just, everything worked in that scene. You could tell Sean Connery was really into it, and it was a great way to go out with such a memorable gadget. And number one, in my view, the greatest James Bond gadget of all time. Let me know yours in the comments below and let me know what you think of my list. It is the underwater car from The Spy Who Loved Me. The Lotus is one of the coolest, stylish, most gorgeous looking cars of all time, so it's already got that advantage. And there's a kick-ass car chase with James Bond. It's the era of Roger Moore, where it's constant one-liners, constant great stunts and great cinematography in the car chase. It's that moment where Bond suddenly starts driving towards the sea and he says that iconic line.
Can you swim?
This is James Bond, isn't it? It kind of sums up the entire series. Imagination, fun, coolness, creativity, otherworldliness, you know, that's the series of James Bond for me. This sort of gadget is James Bond. What I love about the Roger Moore era, even though it went a bit crazy at times, it didn't take itself seriously. So, you know, it did have this kind of wild, crazy energy to it, and anything could happen. And that's basically what happens here. And I just remember that sequence of them driving underwater, and I just wanted this. This is the most gadget I've ever wanted in James Bond. Probably today. Probably between this and Little Nellie for what I'd most want. So there you have it, guys. My top 10 James Bond gadgets. Let me know what you think of the list, and let me know your favourite Bond gadgets. What are some of the ones I've missed? And once again, thank you for watching, everyone. I've got several other James Bond videos on my channel. You can check them out on the screen now. Please consider subscribing for more geeky movie chat, and I will see you guys next time.